you guys? We are here back with another edition of Dark Powerrr. Guys, we've got a lot to get into today. We've got not one, but two episodes of AEW Dark. Yes, that is correct. We had our regularly scheduled programming on Tuesday night, but we also had a special 1-hour edition of Dark on Friday. And so I'm recording this a little bit later than I would normally. I know what happens on Dynamite, but that doesn't take anything away from what's going to be happening this weekend, which is AEW's All Out, and is why we had the special episode of Dark, as we will cover when we get to that. So, sandwiched in between here, we're going to be talking about Impact and some craziness that happened on Impact Wrestling. So let's jump straight into it. We're going to cover we're going to cover the two episodes of Dark, and then we're going to finish off with the episode of Impact. All right, guys, starting off, we have matches that are coming by quick in this sense, and we're starting off with Shawn Spears versus Eddie Torres. Shawn Spears is going to pick up the win. Good opening match. I'm going to try to move through these quickly and kind of just hit the key points as we build towards All Out this Saturday. So Shawn Spears picks up the win over Eddie Torres. This is just a good opener match. Again, he's using the Metal Slug. This match is more about getting Spears ready for all. Actually, I don't even know if he's part of that Casino Battle Royale. Let me check, guys. I would assume he would be on that Battle Royale. It would make sense for him. But let's see. Yes, he is. Shawn Spears there on our Battle Royale. Does he have a chance of winning? Probably not. But he's going to be there, and so he needs to have a win. Let's get him this win. He is now 12-2, if my stats are correct. 12-2 on the year for singles matches, which is just incredible. Now, granted, most of those matches have been against the enhancement talent, if you want to call them that, on Dark, so maybe he's not in line for title shots. But he very well should be, right? Because that's what happened with Natural Nightmares. They were beating up on people who were enhancement talent during the quarantine episodes at QT's gym, and they were able to get a title shot off of that against Hangman and Kenny Omega. So maybe he will be somebody who challenges for the TNT title down the road. AEW does have a pretty stacked roster, so he's got to get in where he can fit in. Speaking of stacked rosters, one of those stacked rosters is their tag team division. And after this, we have Pride and Powerful beating up on Fabu Andre and Ryzen tagging together for, I believe, the first time. After they pick up the win, they are going to call out the Best Friends and say, you know, there's some insinuations made that, you know, somebody might have done something with somebody's mother that the mother's significant other may not have been too happy about, or her children, for that matter. So, yeah, it's a quick match there. The match is more about the feud with Best Friends and what will happen on Dynamite the very next night. After this, we have Allie versus Cassandra Golden. She picks up a quick win here. Allie does, getting her back on track after the loss in the women's tag tournament, the Deadly Draw. After this, case in point to what we're talking about with Best Friends and Pride and Powerful. Pride and Powerful are backstage. They are in the trailer area, and they get attacked by none other than the Best Friends. And so we're building that momentum for what's going to happen on Dynamite. After this, we have Kaz versus Angelico. Now, this was kind of a cool match. I kind of slowed down a bit for this one because I liked this match. It's two veteran performers. They're focusing kind of bit on Kaz as a singles wrestler, which seems a little weird because he and Chris Daniels, are supposed to be the tag team element of SCU, but maybe they're also thinking, hey, you know, we have so many tag teams, we can give SCU a bit of a breather, we don't need to use them as much, and we will have them reunite at a later date, should we so need, but we can let Kaz have some singles matches, at least for right now. The match itself was good, and Angelico always is a treat to watch. It kind of was a slower match, which I thought was interesting, considering one of them is more of a speed wrestler. I mean, granted, he is the last of a true hybrid, so he can do everything. He can do anything. He's a hybrid wrestler, of course. But I thought it was going to be more of a speed versus Kaz's just pure strength, and it kind of was just strength on strength to me. Maybe you feel differently. Let us know in the comments. As you also hit like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. I forgot about that in the beginning because we have so much material to cover with these 2 episodes of Dark. And speaking of which, one thing that we have to talk about is the attack on Cody and Brandi after the TNT title match. And we haven't seen Cody since then. But we do see Brandi because here she comes out to cut a segment. She has little Brand with her. They are, starting to do more and more when it comes to talking about having her be more of a heel, which I like. They have been trending towards that way with Cody as well, so that's also good to build upon that. One thing I didn't like was when they called her, they're calling her the queen. And not because that I think that it's wrong in the sense of Charlotte has that kind of gimmick, but Brandi's not really queen of anything. She's not good enough in the ring to have that kind of talent, to have that kind of clout or to call herself that. So, choking her out, yes, Queen Slayer, okay, cool. I get what they're trying to go for. But a match between Anna Jay and Brandi is not something that's that enticing. An overall feud between Cody and the Dark Order and the Nightmare Family, yes. All of them involved, yes. But that individual aspect, the same way I would not be interested in Dustin versus Brody. On its face, it's a good match, but it doesn't entice me in any way. The same in that vein. Anna Jay versus Brandi, with Anna Jay being still a relative newcomer both to wrestling and to AEW. Brandi has made leaps and bounds in her wrestling ability, but as with anybody, she still has a ways to go. So it's just not. I don't think if Hikaru Shida called herself the Queen, or Ivelisse called herself the Queen, or if Riho was there and was back and called herself the Queen, or even Statlander called herself the Queen, I could see an argument. With Brandi, it's more just, I'm a queen because I'm an executive, and for a company that doesn't want to be WWE-like, or wants to present things differently, it kind of has that Stephanie McMahon feel to it, and I don't know if I like that much. But, speaking of WWE and how they feel threatened by AEW, or can feel threatened by AEW, we will now talk about the next match, which is a tag team match of Billy and Austin Gunn, because Billy can't use the Gunn name, versus Primetime and Ryan Rembrandt. This is a quick match, good match. They're just giving Gun Club another win, and it works for what they're trying to do. To what I was saying earlier about Sean Spears and a title shot with his record, Billy brings up the fact that they're 6-0 as a tag team recently. They're on a 6-0 run, so somebody should be taking notice. Somebody we always take notice of is Abaddon, and she now has a match against Danny Jordan. I liked this match in that I liked Danny Jordan from when she was on NWA, their Proving Grounds kind of show or episodes that they were trying to do, to her debut here on AEW Dark, to now continuing that with this match against Abaddon. The Burn Book Mean Girls character is great. I liked Abaddon targeting the knee and then forcing a tap out that way, which was highlighted by the announcers. Always great when that happens. So that itself was good. I like that storytelling aspect of it. Good match, but Abaddon's picking up that win. Another person that we like from our NWA days together, guys, is Ricky Starks, and he's got a match up right after this against Tony Donati. Good match, moves quickly along. After this, has Taz. I want to say that Taz. One thing that Taz does really well is talking up Starks and Cage as their manager. His ability to be a dick about it is just great. And so I always like that when Starks, when he's either talking about Starks and Cage or Starks and Cage are out there. Those are always highlights for me. After this, we have Jurassic Express versus, I think it's David Ali and John Cruz. Jurassic Express puts them down pretty quickly. It's more of a tune-up for the match, the 8-man tag match that's going to happen on Dynamite, which will involve the Jurassic Express teaming with the Young Bucks versus SCU and Private Party. After this, we have Anna Jay, the Dark Order, the Queen Slayer, up against Red Velvet. good match. They reference Brandy's promo. That's good. For a part of me, and maybe it was a sense of moving too fast on this storyline. A part of me thought that maybe Brandy would come out to confront Anna Jay after the win, but I don't know. That's me kind of feeding a little bit too much into Dark and not remembering what Dark is. Dark is just a showcase kind of show as opposed to storylines that are designed to cover from beginning to end of the episode. If this was a regular episode of Dynamite, it would have made sense for Brandy to come out after what she did in the beginning, but because this is just that showcase, not so much. After this, we have Kip Sabian putting on a match with Shawn Dean. I thought this was going to be my favorite match of the night, and it was. Kip Sabian, talent in the ring. Shawn Dean, talent in the ring. Just solid match between them. Sabian picking up the win again. And after this, we have Private Party versus The Initiative. This is, again, a tune-up match for Private Party ahead of the tag match the next night, which, again, is why I was confused by Kaz having this little bit of a singles go when he is then teaming with Daniels to maybe have a match at All Out. I don't know, just that part of it kind of, I was like, eh. But anyway, tag match is fine. Private Party gets kind of a surprise, roll-up-y kind of win. And after this, the real kicker here, or the real story, is Peter Avalon turning on Brandon Cutler. The Initiative has lost its initiative. They cannot roll the die anymore. They are broken up. They're broken up, children. Sad day. It's a sad day. What will be the fallout from that? Well, normally we'd have to wait a week, maybe, if this was regular television. But we don't, because Tuesday was this episode of Dark, and now Friday is another episode of Dark. And this episode starts with Butcher and Blade picking up a win over Fabu Andre and D3. Eddie Kingston is out with them, highlighting and reinforcing the Eddie Kingston, Butcher and Blade, Lucha Bros connection. After this, we have Ali having a match against Red Velvet, and Brandy is on commentary. Again, they're doing very well with heel Brandy and kind of pushing more and more and more of that. I really do think that when Cody returns, it will be as a face, but then shortly turning heel. It's just something that I think they have been teasing for a long time, and maybe that tease is to throw us off the scent, right? That could very well be the name of the game, the play that's happening, but I don't know. Maybe it's because it's just what I want, like I think a lot of us want that Four Horsemen style stable with Cody in charge, maybe Shawn as the middle guy, maybe or even Hangman and FTR. But then FTR, we saw what happened on Dynamite, where FTR run down Adam, and why would Adam then team with them or be in the same stable or faction as them if they are going to take the tag titles? So it wouldn't make sense for it to be Adam, but Shawn would fit that mid-tier or mid-card, however you want to call it, act or superstar. After this, we have Colt Cabana against Zach Clayton picking up the win. Colt Cabana is a comedy wrestler, but here he is showing off the fact that he is having some problems with being as vicious as the Dark Order wants him to be. And the Dark Order is saying, no, man, you gotta hit him, you gotta hurt him. You got to do what Mr. Brody wants, and what Mr. Brody wants is wins, and he wants vicious wins. So that's what you got to do. Colt Cabana picks up the win. After this, we have Peter Avalon and Leva Bates in the back, speaking of our Initiative breakup just a few moments ago, and Avalon reiterates that the Initiative is no more, and that he is challenging Brandon to a loser versus loser match. Now, we have talked about this. If Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon are losing all the time, it's fine as long as other people aren't losing all the time. What is the difference between them and Fabu Andre, Ryzen, Eddie Torres, Will Hobbs, Primetime, Ryan Rembrandt, Danny Jordan? I can just keep reading names off of my notes. That's just a drawback of what's happened because of the pandemic, but part of me is just like, I don't care. Like, give Brandon the win, so he gets his big win. He finally gets off the schneid. He's able to have a 1 in the win column, and let's move forward. Or give it to Avalon and make Avalon a better heel. Like, either way, it's just like, okay, this is, you're not gonna, you didn't want to give him the win as a tag team. Okay, fine. Let's get this little mini feud out of the way and see where they're gonna go from here. And where are they gonna go from here? That's the real question. If we're going to have a storyline, what is the next step? Where's the progression? That's the most important thing to me. After this, we have Lucha Bros beating up on Ryzen and what was the other guy? Angel Perez. So they have a match against Ryzen and Angel Perez. This leads to my favorite part of this episode of Dark, where Eddie Kingston comes out and with Lucha Bros. Sorry, not with Lucha, with Butcher and Blade, and they're giving him a live mic. And as they give him a live mic, Taz is complaining because he says, "Oh look, another loudmouth New Yorker on the mic." Now, this is just hilarious for any number of reasons, but chief among those is that Taz is also a loudmouth New Yorker, and the fact that he goes, "I see this guy's a dime a dozen. You see him all the time." It's just pot calling the kettle black. The lack of self-awareness by the heel commentator is just hilarious. I really, really liked that. If they get Eddie Kingston on commentary one day with Taz to go back and forth, that will be beautiful. Speaking of beautiful, after this we have the beautiful Ivelisse. That's a pretty good transition. Ivelisse versus the equally beautiful Kylan King. And Ivelisse picking up the win here over Kylan King. She and Diamante won that tournament. Where's it going to go from here? I want to see the progression. Is Ivelisse maybe going to be a challenger for Hikaru Shida or Thunder Rosa? Hikaru Shida. For Hikaru Shida down the road. Maybe. But were they heels? Maybe. They're kind of in that in-between kind of stage, to me at least, because they overcame the Nightmare Sisters, who were kind of heelish, but kind of face-ish. I don't know. So I want to see how they continue to build upon Ivelisse and Diamante coming out of the tag tournament. This is a great way to start getting Ivelisse wins, stacking wins for maybe having her face Hikaru Shida, or at least somebody else in a number one contenders match, or something to that effect down the road. After this, we have the Dark Order, Silver and Reynolds versus Sean Dean and Brandon, I think it was Bullenbach or something like that. Either way, they do not pick up the win over Reynolds and Silver. Really great to see Reynolds and Silver, who are becoming mainstays on being the Elite, get a nice win here. And after this, there is a Cutler segment, and in this Cutler segment, he accepts the match with Avalon. Now, I want to say that this interests me for a number of reasons, because Leva Bates is in both of them, and it's kind of, what interests me is how it's tearing her apart to see them two just, not care about each other. That's probably the most important part of it all to me. Let's just get the match over with. After this, we have Darby Allin picking up a win over Luther, and that's really just to get Darby stacking some wins as we move towards the Battle Royale on Saturday. And finally, if you noticed a little bit of a Dark Order trend throughout Tuesday's episode and this episode, that's for a reason, because in our main event, we have the Natural Nightmares facing off against 5 and 10. They pick up the win ahead of the 8-man tag match at All Out. Now, sandwiched in between this hour and 40-minute episode and the hour episode that was today is 2 hours of Impact Wrestling. Now let's get right to it, guys. So this week's episode of Impact starts with Sami Callihan versus RVD. Sami picks up the win, but RVD wins in the sense of he has this beatdown. After this, we have a Wrestle House segment. Not too much, not too crazy of a Wrestle House segment. We're kind of winding everything down with that, which is kind of nice because we're going to get everybody back in the Impact Zone maybe a little bit later tonight. Who knows? Who knows how that's going to work, right, guys? After this, we have Rhino versus Reno Scum. Now, we said that, last week that Rhino said, it doesn't matter if Heath isn't there. He's going to be facing Reno Scum no matter what. He'd like to have his friend there, but he doesn't know if he will. as it turns out, Heath, despite hashtag Heath for Impact, Heath is not there as his tag team partner. He has to face Reno Scum by himself. But it's okay because there's a certain cameraman who looks suspiciously like Heath Slater who's going to help Rhino out. Scott D'Amore comes out after everything's said and done and is like, what the hell's going on, man? And Heath, bails or whatever. And Rhino's just like, I didn't know he was going to do that, I swear to God. And he probably didn't. But Rhino doesn't strike me as the conniving madman type or the architect planner to have, paid off a cameraman to give the camera to Heath during that match so that he could have Heath in his corner, so to speak. After this, there is Moose and EC3, a really good segment. I like this. Moose is just losing his mind. He's trying to find EC3 throughout the night. Really good bit. After this, there is a Good Brothers vignette that involves the Rascals. They are talking about how they have to face Ace and Madman Fulton. The Good Brothers seem kind of in their good brothery element. I don't really know how else to describe it. They are who they are. It is what it is. After this, we are back at Wrestle House, and we're kind of continuing to pull down the final parts of Wrestle House, which involve figuring out who stole the Diener Spear. And who did steal the Diener Spear, we don't know, but we will have basically a backstage brawl, because there's a ring at Wrestle House, and they do have matches in that ring, right? So a backstage brawl with everybody in Triple XL and the Dieners, which I thought was hilarious. The match, I mean, even to the point that I put it in quotes, but even to that point, Tommy Dreamer's like, match time, I guess, But the match itself was hilarious, I will say. As cinematic matches go, if that's what we're going to call it, as cinematic matches go, it was well done. I liked different key spots, like with AC getting in the elevator and then Diener like running down the stairs to make sure he can, bash him when the thing opens up. Just reminded me of, Saturday morning cartoons with Roadrunner and Coyote and Sylvester and Tweety and all that fun stuff. Just parts of it were really well done, and I like how they're able to be entertaining while segmenting the roster. That's where I was going with that. Sorry. After this, we have the Rascals and Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. They pick up the win over Ace Austin and Madman Fulton, and then Motor City Machine Guns come out. And they say, look, you issued that open challenge, and at Slammiversary, you had no idea that it was going to be us. And you put up a good fight, but you were kind of surprised. You thought it was probably going to be a team on the Impact roster. So, because we like you guys, and because of the fact that we kind of took you by surprise, we want to give you another match against us, but this time, the tag titles will be on the line. And I like that. That was a good... it reinforces Motor City Machine Guns as the babyface. It reinforces them as wanting to protect and build up the tag team division, which is what any champion should do, build up your division, but also what any good babyface should do. And if you're a babyface returning because you wanted to prove yourself against the tag teams, it makes sense to, everything about this segment works. So I liked that. After this, we have Rohit Raju talking with TJP, and TJP is kind of a little humorous segment, but basically the gist of it is that TJP is trying to get he's trying to get an X Division title shot, and Rohit Raju says, look, technically Chris Bay is first in line because he has a rematch clause. Rematch clauses are important. Clauses in contracts are super important, considering what I found out tonight about what WWE puts in their contracts when it comes to ownership of intellectual property and what these morons are signing away for the terms of for the duration of the contract is mind-boggling. So rematch clauses, very important. That's the extent to which I'm gonna get into that, because that would be a whole spiel that I would go off on. Anyway, So Rohit says, look, Chris Bay is first in line, but if you can, beat Chris Bay, then I would think that maybe, we could talk, and Impact administration would be willing to hear your case as to why you should get a title shot and not Chris Bay being able to exercise his rematch clause. So a strong segment there, building towards a match with TJP and Chris Bay. Maybe Rohit Raju gets involved. Maybe he wants to face Bay as opposed to TJP. Maybe he wants to face neither. Maybe he gets involved and we have another triple threat because he got involved. We'll have to see. But it's good that they're continuing to build that storyline, and they're kind of showcasing that Rohit Raju knows that he's not the best in the ring when it comes to the other talent. He can't do the things that TJP can do. He can't do the things that Chris Bay can do, or Moose can do, or Rhino. But his strength is his mind and his ability to beat people without laying a finger on them. Because right now he's getting TJP to possibly do his dirty work when it comes to Chris Bay, and before he got Chris Bay to put him into a match when it didn't help Chris Bay at all. Anyway, after this we have our culmination of Wrestle House, where Taya is going to face off against Valkyrie. Now, what am I saying? Taya is going to face off against Rosemary. Taya Valkyrie is going to face off against Rosemary. Wow, gosh, I'm all over the place, guys. But here we have a pretty good segment in that Taya picks up the win, but Johnny Bravo finally proposes to Rosemary. He tells her that he loves her, for sure, for reals, that he wants her in his life. All of her. Because she speaks in third person. And it's a great segment. I thought it was great because they showed us where Wrestle House should go. They took us on the journey throughout all of these weeks, and we reached the point to a satisfying conclusion. Because now they resolved the problem. Yes, Taya is better than Rosemary, in the same way that Johnny could not beat Larry D. But that doesn't matter, because what's important to these characters is the other person. What was important to Rosemary was not winning, in the sense of beating Taya was nice, yes, but she got what she really wanted, which was Johnny Bravo in her life. Bravo wasn't able to beat Larry, but he got what he wanted, which was having Rosemary in his life. Taya is able to have both of them in her life, even though part of her, me is always surprised because she just seems like she doesn't care about either of them. But anyway, so now Rosemary says, we can leave Wrestle House, and they all put their hands in together. Kylie Ray is super happy about this because it means she can get back to being the #1 contender for the Knockouts Championship. And where are we going with this? You guessed it. Deonna Purrazzo is having a segment in the middle of the ring. I don't know where else the segment would be. But she's having a segment in the middle of the ring, which is a celebration of her and who she is. Great heel work, great promo, talking. Kimberly suddenly being buddy-buddy with her was a little bit, but I was like, all right, cool, I'll buy into it, fine. It just seemed to happen too fast, as opposed to maybe another week where they're talking backstage, but it works. Jordan comes out, a little upset, a little peeved, if you will. But what's important here is that Tenille Dashwood makes her return to Impact after some time away. I believe it had to do with a disease, an illness. I know she was sick. I don't remember if the reason why she was gone this time was because of that or for some other purpose. But either way, she is back. Great to have her back. And she is kind of gunning for Deonna Purrazzo. It's all about me. I visited Australia, but I don't trust my Australian accent. Anyway, Tenille has her return. It looks like it's, everything's going to throw down. And then suddenly, by the power of Grayskull, everybody comes back from WrestleZone right in the middle of the ring, which means Deonna thrown off her game, and all of a sudden she turns around and she's in the same ring as the #1 contender, Kylie Ray. Shenanigans ensue! And we see that Kylie is also gunning for that Knockouts Championship, which leads us to our main event. Our main event for the evening is Eric Young challenging Eddie Edwards for the world title. Good match. Pretty decent main event. Pretty decent title match. Match of the night, for sure. but it makes sense, sort of. It makes sense now that Eric was willing to forego a shot last week against somebody who was just in a title match to have a match this week. Because Eric Young is a world-class maniac. And Eric Young knows what he is doing. And what he is doing is finding a way to win the Impact World Championship. Your new Impact World Champion, ladies and gentlemen, your champion is the world-class maniac, Eric Young. And it was very well done. He picks up the win. He does what he needs to do. He does what he promised to do, which is more important. And he picks up the title. And I was wondering, coming out of Slammiversary, it didn't seem right that Eddie Edwards was winning. In the sense, follow me here, people, in the sense that either he needed to have a long reign or he was going to be a transitional champion. And if he's going to have a long reign, it didn't make sense to have Eric Young be the one who was going to return during the match, or return for the match, come back to Impact, do all these sorts of things, and lose to Eddie Edwards. I know Impact has kind of a bad history of hot-shotting titles when people return, but it wouldn't make sense to not put the title on Eric Young. And if he is a transitional champion, it then makes sense to put the title on Eddie Edwards out of the people in that Slammiversary match, because you don't want to give it to Trey and just have Trey lose. You don't want to give it to Ace and just have Ace lose. You don't want to give it to Eric because you want to delay that Eric's title win. So you put it on Eddie and have him be the transitional champion. But the problem was Eddie could also be the kind of champion who has a long reign. So I was interested to see, once they said, hey, Eric Young's going to get this title shot, how exactly it was going to all come out. And I think they went with the right choice. You have a situation now where Eddie Edwards can try to fight to get a rematch. He has a rematch in the rematch clause, but Eric Young can easily just cause disqualification. I have a feeling that Bound for Glory, because Bound for Glory is not that far away. Bound for Glory is what? I think it's it's October 24th. So there's about 2 months, roughly speaking, from now until Bound for Glory. In those 2 months, maybe say end of September-ish, they can have the rematch. Because they have matches that they can do in the meantime. They have maybe Deonna Kylie. They have Motor City Machine Guns Rascals next week. Like, they can space these things out. Rohit, Chris Bay, and TJP, figuring out that situation. I have a feeling that Bound for Glory will be Eddie Edwards versus Eric Young. And that Eddie will have to have gone through something in order to get the title shot. But I also think that Eddie will lose at Bound for Glory. And at Bound for Glory, Rich Swann, who retired, will make his return again and be able to face Eric Young down the road to become the Impact World Champion. Maybe, since that'll be the end of October, maybe during the January pay-per-view. Because I remember, they had, beginning of this year, if I remember right, was Hard to Kill, right? Beginning of this year? Or, no. Yeah, beginning of this year. January 2020 was Hard to Kill. So if they are keeping the Hard to Kill name, or they are planning on having just a pay-per-view in January, to me, it would make sense to have Rich Swann come back at Bound for Glory and draw out a 2-month or so storyline. By that point in time, you would have had 4.5 months, depending on when in January the pay-per-view is, a 4.5 month run for Eric Young. You would have cemented him as a heel. You would be able to have the belt on Rich Swann whether or not Rich Swann is then facing, say, Moose or EC3, we don't know. That'll all depend on how the Moose EC3 thing shakes out. So I'm interested to see how it all works out. They have a lot of big pieces in the main event scene. I mean, Moose, EC3, Eddie Edwards, Eric Young, potentially Rich Swann, Ace Austin, even Madman Fulton, Sami Callihan, RVD. Maybe not RVD. Ken Shamrock. Also, no, please no. But either way, that's between 8 to 9 people who are all jockeying for position. Not to mention people in the tag team division who might move up, people in the X division who might move up. It'll be interesting to see how they build upon everything. But as I always do when I'm signing off, no matter what decisions they make, we will be with you every step of the way. We will be with you throughout it all. We will be with you as we are all bound for glory. So, guys, until next time, remember to like, share, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. If you're watching this and are not subscribed, what are you doing? We appreciate all the support. We appreciate the love. I had a blast this week being on True Heel Heat. I believe I will be on the All Out Roundtable discussion after the pay-per-view, so I'll see you guys again then. But until the next time I see you on Dark Powerrr, I apologize for the length. I'm looking at the time. It's about 30. We're about to hit 36 minutes. I do apologize, guys. I know it can be a lot. But until next time, stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Take care of others. Remember, we were watching Dynamite, my girlfriend and I, and we saw the Hana Kimura shirt that Kenny was wearing. Remember, guys, you don't always know what other people are going through. Remember that words can help, but they can also hurt. Remember that you are not responsible in that sense for anybody else, but you are responsible for how people take your words. You are responsible for, and it sounds like a weird thing to say because I just said you're not really responsible for everybody else. But while you aren't responsible, it's not difficult to just be kind. It's not difficult to just be nice. And the wrestling world lost an amazing talent in Hana Kimura because of words, because of just things that were said to her. And it's incredible. We don't always know the struggles that other people are going through. So just remember, guys, be safe, be kind, be well, and until next time in this beautiful world of wrestling that we all call home, I'll see you guys and I'll catch you later.